I want to ask you something honest before we start. Have you ever been completely satisfied with something you had, until you found out that someone else had the same thing or something better, and suddenly what you had stopped feeling like enough? You got a raise and you felt great. Then you found out a colleague got a bigger raise and suddenly yours felt like an insult. You were happy with your life until you opened social media and found yourself comparing your Monday to someone else's highlight reel. This is one of the oldest and most painful human patterns there is. And Jesus told a parable about it that is so uncomfortably accurate that even people who have heard it many times often come away feeling quietly convicted by it. I believe this story does not just describe something that happened to a group of farm workers 2,000 years ago. It describes something that happens inside all of us on a regular basis, and something we desperately need to understand if we want to live with any real peace. The parable is found in Matthew chapter 20, and it is called the parable of the workers in the vineyard. A landowner goes out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agrees to pay them 1 denarius for the day, a fair standard day's wage for that time. They agree. They go to work. A few hours later, the landowner goes back to the marketplace and sees more workers standing around with nothing to do. He hires them too and tells them he will pay them whatever is right. He does this again at noon, and again at 3 in the afternoon, and then, remarkably, again at 5 o'clock in the evening, with only 1 hour left in the working day. When evening comes and it is time to pay everyone, the landowner tells his foreman to call the workers in and pay them, starting with the last ones hired. The ones who started at 5 o'clock, who only worked 1 hour, receive 1 denarius each. And the workers who had been there since early morning see this happen. They watch the 1-hour workers get a full day's wage, and they start doing the math in their heads. If those people got a full denarius for 1 hour, then surely we are going to get much more for 12 hours in the heat of the day. But when their turn comes, they also receive 1 denarius each. Exactly what was agreed, not a coin less, and they are furious. Listen carefully to what the workers actually say when they complain, because the words they choose reveal everything about what comparison does to a person. Matthew 20:12 says, "These who were hired last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day." You have made them equal to us. That is the heart of the complaint. Not, you broke your promise. Not, you cheated us. They were not cheated. They received exactly what they agreed to receive. The complaint is, those people are equal to us, and that feels wrong. That feels unjust. That feels like an insult to everything we endured, that they did not. The moment of seeing created the grievance. The comparison turned a perfectly fair transaction into something that felt like a wound. Not because anything changed about what they received, but because what someone else received changed how they felt about what was theirs. Comparison did not take a single coin from those workers, but it took something more valuable, their ability to receive what was already good as actually good. That is what comparison always costs us. The landowner does not get defensive when they complain. He does not apologize. He does not explain himself at length. He asks 3 questions, and each one cuts a little deeper than the one before it. Matthew 20:13-15 says, "Friend, I am not being unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am generous? Did we not agree?" Yes, they agreed. Do I not have the right to do what I want with what is mine? Yes, he does. And then the third question, the one that names what is actually happening. Are you envious because I am generous? In the original Greek, the phrase translated as, "Are you envious?" is literally, "Is your eye evil?" It is the language of the evil eye, which in that culture was the eye of envy, the eye that looks at someone else's good fortune and cannot stand what it sees. The landowner is not asking whether the workers are angry. He already knows they are angry. He is asking whether they can recognize that their anger is coming from somewhere inside them, not from anything unjust that was done to them. And that question lands in a very uncomfortable place, because the honest answer is yes. Their eye is evil. They are not responding to injustice. They are responding to generosity that did not go the direction they expected. And the generosity feels unbearable because of who received it. I want to stay here for a moment because I think this is where the parable reaches into daily modern life in a way that is genuinely uncomfortable if we let it. The workers who started early had something real, a fair wage, an honest agreement honored, a day's work done in good conscience. Those are genuinely good things. But comparison turned all of that invisible. In the moment of comparison, none of the good they had received could be seen or felt anymore. All they could see was what the other workers had, and that vision poisoned everything else. Before the comparison, a fair wage, an agreement kept, a full day of honest work, good things, received and real. After the comparison, resentment, anger, the feeling of being wronged. The same wage now felt like an insult. Nothing changed about what they received. Everything changed about how they felt about it. And I find that deeply convicting when I sit with it honestly. Because I know this pattern in my own life. I have had moments of genuine gratitude for something good, and then one glance at what someone else had replaced the gratitude with dissatisfaction so quickly, it was almost frightening. The thing did not change. My heart changed. And it changed the moment I stopped looking at what I had and started looking at what they had instead. Comparison does not just make us unhappy. It makes us unable to receive good things as good. It puts a filter over genuine blessings that makes them look smaller than they are, or flat, or unworthy of gratitude. And that filter stays on as long as we keep using other people's lives as the measuring stick for our own. Jesus told another parable that I think belongs right alongside this one, because it shows comparison working in a slightly different direction, but with the same destructive result. In Luke chapter 18, a Pharisee and a tax collector both go to the temple to pray. Luke 18:11-12 says the Pharisee stood and prayed about himself. God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give a tenth of all I get. The Pharisee is not praying, he is comparing. His prayer is built entirely on the difference between himself and someone else, and the difference makes him feel righteous, elevated, safe. But Jesus says that the tax collector, who simply beat his chest and asked for mercy, went home justified, not the Pharisee. Here, comparison runs upward. The vineyard workers compared themselves to those below them, people who worked less and got the same. The Pharisee compared himself to those below him to confirm his own superiority. Both forms of comparison share the same root. They take our eyes off God and off what is true about us, and place them on other people as the standard by which we measure our worth, our fairness, our standing. And Jesus says both lead to the same place, away from what is real and toward a story we are telling ourselves about where we rank. And that story, however convincing it feels, keeps us from the very thing we are most in need of. Why we still don't listen? Here is the question the title of today's video is really asking. If Jesus told this parable 2,000 years ago, if this warning about comparison has been sitting in Scripture all this time, why do we still fall into it so completely and so regularly? I think the honest answer is that we have never lived in a world more perfectly designed to make comparison feel natural and even necessary than the one we live in right now. Social media is a machine for comparison. Every time I open it, I am presented with a carefully curated version of hundreds of other people's lives. Their achievements, their vacations, their milestones, their bodies, their relationships. All of it filtered and presented in the most favorable possible light. And my brain, which was not designed for this kind of constant social comparison at this scale, responds to every one of those images exactly the way those vineyard workers responded, with an automatic, instinctive comparison to where I am and whether I measure up. The vineyard workers had a moment of comparison at the end of one working day. We have thousands of those moments every single day, delivered directly to our hands. Jesus' warning about what comparison does to the human heart was urgent 2,000 years ago. In the age of social media, it is almost impossibly urgent. Jesus told this parable about the vineyard workers not to teach us about labor economics or fair wages. He told it to hold up a mirror to one of the most reliably destructive patterns in all of human experience, the pattern of letting what someone else has determine how we feel about what we have. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you have not already. I will see you in the next one.